You want me to sound like this? Do you know how much Pastor Dunsin spent in his post-production and overdub? Maybe the orchestra he used may be live. But on your case, it is one producer somewhere that has pressed some key to create some small strings and all that. And you say, standard of comparison is Judah. Here, this place where they did some brass and orchestra section. I want this to sound exactly. Meanwhile, your production was just less than $50. Videos or two sound to compare. So I want to know how it used to be in the yesteryears and how the sound is now in our modern time. And then we have Judah. So I choose Judah because I love Pastor Dunsi for excellence, for quality. So we are comparing any sound now. I think these are the standards they use right now to compare other materials. And then we can just contrast and compare what is here that we love and what is not here that we are missing in our modern time. Of course, we cannot go back again in time to start that stuff, but let's just know what is it that we are missing from both from the musical part and mixing part of the project. So let me play this again so we just compare. Every musical instrument was sounding very well, distinctively.
With a grateful heart, with a song of praise, with an outstretched arm, I will bless your name. Thank you, Lord. I just want to thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
You could hear e-guitar, acoustic guitar, drums, and every other thing. And they were not using stems. So they had basically just two keyboards. One playing maybe e-piano or grand piano, the other one playing maybe organ or something else. And that was it. Whatever they capture raw is what they're going to use mixed and publish. Now, when you compare this with the modern music right now, first of all, whatever we capture, we will have to do a lot of post-production. You might be surprised that for the vocal overdub of Judah, we might have maybe close to 50 or 60 different BGV stems. Then there will be a lot of guitar stacks, a lot. There might be horns or orchestra section somewhere. Someone does the capturing or the arrangement. And maybe for this, it might be a live orchestra section that were used for Judah. I'm not sure. Then we have auxiliary keys that stack a lot of stuff. So at the end of the day, you might be mixing with close to 300, between 200 to 300 stacks of mix channels, right? And some of the problems we have right now is that executive producers might want to hear everything. Like I used to tell my guys, there are sounds that are meant to be felt, where there are sounds that are meant to be heard. So if you try to amplify what is meant to be felt to be as loud as the hearing, we might end up producing noise at the end of the day. That's at the mixing stage. Now, by the time you get this thing to mastering, the mastering engineer is struggling with plugins to tame all these things. Remember, in our time right now, all the dynamic processor you are thinking of is gradually fading away and is being replaced with AI, right? So we have dynamic EQ, dynamic compressor, dynamic multi-band compressor, multi-band EQ. We have a multi-band stereo imager like that, right? And for each of these elements, we may be populating them with dynamic EQ, dynamic compressor to be taming, to be doing some subtle changes in the mix. So at the end of the day, almost all the high frequencies and everything is being taken out. The natural sound of the musical instrument too taken out. And we are just left with what seems to be a pad. When you listen to the lead vocal, it's singing as if it's a pad vocal himself. When you hear the BGVs, it's pad. When you hear the overhead from the drum, pad. When you hear keyboard, pad. When you hear electric guitar, pad. At the end of the day, pad plus pad is equal to a global gigantic pad. And that explains why we cannot distinctively hear electric guitar, acoustic guitar like that. Everything is padded. I'm only using this video for educational purpose only. And I still believe and I still trust God that he will use one of our music minister that is highly influential in our modern time to go back in time, redefining the sound, because I don't really know the direction we are heading now. Sometimes I feel like rejecting some jobs because they will be telling me like, don't mix like this. I want this sound to be like this one. Okay, you want me to sound like this? Do you know how much Pastor Dunsin spent in his post-production and overdub? Maybe the orchestra he used may be live. But on your case, it is one producer somewhere that just press some key to create some small strings and all that. And you say, standard of comparison is Judah. Here this place where they did some brass and orchestra section. I want this to sound exactly. Meanwhile, your production was just less than $50. And maybe this one may cost thousands of dollars. I don't want to talk about this part actually, but that's really one of the most annoying parts. When music ministers in our modern time don't even understand music. Yes, I'm looking you straight in the eyes and I'm telling you, you don't understand music. You don't even know how to play any instrument. Whatsoever a producer pushed to your face, suggested to your face, you grasp it. That is one. Number two, our instrumentalists are not really proactive at all. They are lazy. Some of them. You might hear one line from William McDowell. Now somebody is doing his production. You are bringing that line into this space in a new song. Now you want your snare drum to sound exactly as the snare drum they use here. I just want you guys to think out of the box. There's nothing wrong with you getting a different type of snare drum. I say for this project, I just want to have this snare drum. It might not necessarily sound like the snare drum in maybe ABC gospel ministers, but it's going to translate this sound. Enough is enough of this padding we are doing. Actually, the mixes we have now is too much of pad. You cannot separate element. Everything is glued together. It is not okay. Sometimes I even choose not to mix. I just choose to capture the multi-track and give you. Take it anywhere you want to mix. Because I'm so tired. I want to be creative. But a lot of my clients don't want that creative part. They want it to sound exactly, because when you look at Judah now, it's trending. So someone will just wake up from nowhere and say, I want the mix of Judah. Right? Pastor Dusi carries grace. You two have to journey through your own path. You need to have a lot of patience, because I believe this is a journey. Allow yourself to be used of God. There's much more that is expected in the musical space. It is high time we go back to Hosanna music, integrity music, to hear sound in its original source. And then come back to our modern time with technology to achieve something that is much more.